Freedom and asceticism. To be free from all attachment does not mean running away from all occasion for attachment. All these people who assert their asceticism not only run away but warn others not to try. This seems so obvious to me. When you need to run away from a thing in order not to experience it, it means that you are not above it. You are still on the same level. Anything that suppresses, diminishes, or lessens cannot bring freedom. Freedom has to be experienced in the whole of life and in all sensations. As a matter of fact, I have made a whole series of studies on the subject, on the purely physical plane. In order to be above all possible error, we tend to eliminate any occasion for error. For example, if you do not want to say any useless words, you stop speaking. People who take a vow of silence imagine that this is control of speech. It is not true. It is only eliminating the occasion for speech, and therefore for saying useless things. It is the same thing with food. Eating only what is necessary, but the natural tendency is to fast. It is a mistake. For fear of being mistaken in our actions, we stop doing anything at all. For fear of being mistaken in our speech, we stop speaking. For fear of eating for the pleasure of eating, we do not eat at all. This is not freedom. It is simply reducing the manifestation to a minimum, and the natural conclusion is nirvana. But if the Lord wanted only nirvana, nothing but nirvana would exist. It is obvious that he conceives of the coexistence of all opposites, and that for him this must be the beginning of a totality. So, obviously, if one feels meant for that, one can choose only one of his manifestations, that is to say, the absence of manifestation. But it is still a limitation, and this is not the only way to find him. Far from it. It is a very common tendency which probably originates from an ancient suggestion, or perhaps from some lack, some incapacity. Reduce one's needs, reduce one's activities, reduce one's words, reduce one's food, reduce one's active life, and all that becomes so narrow. In one's aspiration not to make any more mistakes, one eliminates any occasion for making them. It is not a cure. But the other way is much, much more difficult. Silence. No. The solution is to act only under the divine impulsion, to speak only under the divine impulsion, to eat only under the divine impulsion. That is the difficult thing, because naturally you immediately confuse the divine impulsion with your personal impulses. I suppose this was the idea of all the apostles of renunciation, to eliminate everything coming from outside or from below, so that if something from above should manifest, one would be in a condition to receive it. But from the collective point of view, this process could take thousands of years. From the individual point of view, it is possible. But then one must keep intact the aspiration to receive the true impulsion, not the aspiration for complete liberation, but the aspiration for active identification with the Supreme. That is to say, to will only what He wills, to do only what He wants, to exist by and in Him alone. So, one can try the method of renunciation, but this is for one who wants to cut himself off from others. And in that case, can there be any integrality? It seems impossible to me. To proclaim publicly what one wants to do is a considerable help. It may give rise to objections, scorn, conflict, but this is largely compensated for by public expectation, so to say, by what other people expect from you. This was certainly the reason for those robes, to let people know. Of course, that may bring you the scorn, the bad will of some people, but then there are all those who feel they must not interfere or meddle with this. That is not their concern. I do not know why, but it always seemed to me like showing off. It may not be, and in some cases it is not. But all the same, it is a way of saying to people, look, this is what I am. And as I say, it may help, but it has its drawbacks. It is another childishness. All these things are means, stages, steps, but true freedom is to be free of everything, including means. Silence. It is a restriction, a constriction, whereas the true thing is an opening, a widening, an identification with the whole. When you reduce yourself, you do not have any feeling of losing yourself. It takes away your fear of losing yourself. You become something solid and compact. But if you choose the method of widening, the greatest possible widening, you must not be afraid of losing yourself. It is much more difficult.